we, I think, like to kind of separate our thinking from a human is conscious, maybe a rock isn't conscious, certainly less conscious. Is an electron alive? Would you say that an electron is alive or conscious, or is alive and conscious two separate things in your view?
Well, so when I look at you, I just have a visual experience of a human body. That visual experience is not alive or dead. That's just my visual experience, and it's not you. You are a conscious entity, and my experience of you is just my experience through my headset. And so I would say that the image that I have of you, my perception, that is neither alive nor not alive. It's just a portal to your consciousness, and it's it's one of the best portals I have. The human form in my perception is one of the best portals I have into consciousness. The cat form is a portal, but not quite as good. I can tell when my cat is hungry, or if I've petted it enough and it's had enough, But with an ant, a little bit about it's alive for sure, and a little bit about what it likes and dislikes. So, but when I get to a rock, you might say, well, it's totally unconscious. No, it just means that my interface gave up. So the idea is I'm always interacting with consciousness. My headset has limitations. With humans, it gives me some, but not very good. Actually, you could live with someone for many, many years and still have lots of stuff you don't know about them, about their conscious experience, how they see the world. You can still be surprised. So we've mistaken a limit of our headset for an insight into the nature of reality. I see a rock and it looks pretty dumb to me. Well, it's not because I'm interacting with a dumb reality. It's because my headset has to give up. It's simplifying things. It's dumbing things down. So when I'm interacting, so I'll be very, very clear. When I pick up a rock, I am interacting with consciousness. And I'm not saying the rock is conscious, right? I'm not saying the rock is conscious. The rock is just my experience. So for example, let's do the VR metaphor again with Grand Theft Auto. When I grab the steering wheel of my car, right, I'm doing something inside the computer, but there's no steering wheel inside the computer.
Right.
So that's the key thing to keep. I'm always, in that metaphor, I'm always interacting with diodes and resistors and voltages. That's what I'm always doing. Sometimes I see those diodes and resistors as a steering wheel. Sometimes I see them as a Ferrari. Sometimes I see them as my arm, my avatar arm. But I'm always interacting with the diodes and resistors in that metaphor. So now backing it into, I'm saying consciousness is the fundamental engine. It's the supercomputer behind everything. And everything that I see is my interaction with that engine, with consciousness. But my headset dumbs things down. So with you, I'm getting insight into the consciousness that I'm interacting with my cat, but with a rock not. But it's just wrong to say the rock is unconscious and your body is conscious. Those are just, put it this way, the body that I'm perceiving is not you. It's just the body that I'm perceiving.
Yeah.
And for all I know, if you actually knew what I was perceiving of you, you would say, no, that's not what I think I look like at all.
Right.
So...
Yep. I mean, so much of the world, and I'm excited to dive into this a little bit later, so much division and separation comes from the tightly held beliefs of our perceptions being the absolute truth, right? And so
that's right.
This view of consciousness being fundamental is a completely 180 shift from how most people even approach the hard problem, right? And
absolutely.
We think that at some stage of neuronal development, we turn that dial enough and then we get conscious experience by virtue of unconscious complexity just kind of developing. But if consciousness is fundamental, then you're coming at the problem, if you want to call it that, from the completely opposite angle.
That's exactly right. So most of my colleagues who are studying consciousness, good friends and colleagues, and they're brilliant, but most of them are physicalists. They assume that space-time is fundamental, which is false. They assume that reductionism is true, which is false. They assume that brain activity or, for example, complicated enough artificial intelligence systems, the right activity in computers, somehow gives rise to conscious experiences. So that's the standard view. And again, these are my friends and colleagues. They're brilliant. But they've failed so far to explain any specific conscious experience. There's no scientific theory today, none, that can explain a specific conscious experience and how it arises from the brain activity or orchestrated collapse of neuronal microtubule quantum states or integrated information or some global workspace architecture. If you ask them, and I've done this, I mean, these are my friends, so I'll ask them informally, I'll ask them at conferences when I want to put them on the spot. I'll just say, so great, you have a theory of consciousness, so what specific conscious experience can you explain? What is the integrated information theory pattern, what they call the Q shape, that must be the taste of chocolate and couldn't be the smell of garlic? What is it? Or whatever one you want. Can you give me one? No. And I've done this with Stuart Hameroff with his Hameroff and Penrose model. So, Stuart, can you give me a specific conscious experience that you can explain? And I had to push 2 or 3 minutes. He hemmed and hawed, and I finally, Stuart, can you give me one? Finally, I had to say, no, you can't. And it's not because they're dumb; they're brilliant. But you can't boot up consciousness from space-time objects. It's just not possible. And so spiritual traditions have been saying this for thousands of years, right? They've been saying that consciousness is fundamental and space and time is, they haven't used the term headset, but it's maybe an illusion or something, and Plato has the allegory of the cave. Okay. And so the spiritual traditions have in some sense been there for quite a while, but they haven't had the tools of mathematics. They've had only imprecise language to work. And they also haven't had the tools of experimental psychology, for example, or experimental science more generally. So we're coming to a nice convergence for humanity. The spiritual traditions have been saying this for thousands of years, but haven't had the tools to make it rigorous. And they've suffered for that because when you only have words, they'll say the words are just pointers. The Tao, the Ching starts off the very first sentence is the Tao that can be spoken is not the true Tao. Once you understand that, then it's fine. Then you can read the rest of the book and realize don't take this stuff literally. Just take it as pointers to the truth inside you, the consciousness inside you. And any good spiritual tradition will make that distinction clear up front. But the followers have famously and terribly misunderstood that, and we end up with religious wars and persecutions and killings and so forth. And so a lot of that comes because we've had imprecise language, and it's easy to become dogmatic and to not understand the limits. So what we have coming with science now is the scientists are now saying, okay, we need to look outside of space-time. And the spiritual traditions are saying, well, great, we've been here for quite a while. Right. Come join us. But now the scientists have these incredible tools. They thought that they were studying reality. They've been studying their headset. We've been studying the space-time headset since Galileo. But we got good enough that we actually discovered that it's just a headset, right? It's actually the tools of science that have forced us to recognize that space-time is just a headset.
Which is an incredible achievement.
It's unbelievable. And that's what is so beautiful about the science is that the theories are mathematically precise so that they tell you two things. They tell you the scope, the power of your theory with mathematical precision. But even more important, they tell you the limits.